6 o'clock. And if you'd like to please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up, we'll get roll call from the clerk, please.
Councillor Rieskamp.
Here.
Councillor Grizzle.
Here.
Councillor Steinhebel.
Here.
Councillor Bolin.
Here.
Councillor Stouter.
Here.
Councillor Dykstra.
Here.
Thank you very much. First up, we have the consent calendar. We have the agenda for tonight. Cascades West Area Commission on Transportation, Wayne Rieskamp appointment to the board, bid authorization on a filter belt press, and council minutes from January 13th.
Move for
Entertain a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
I have one correction on the minutes. The way that it's printed in the minutes, it says that I was appointed to the Transportation Committee, but I declined on that.
Okay, okay. Did you get that, Kim?
Yes, we'll make that notation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so as amended or as corrected, do we need to do another? I think we can go ahead and do that same as amended.
Move for approval as amended.
Yeah.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, first up, proclamation presentation. We've got the Lebanon Downtown Association, a year in review.
All right, can you guys hear me?
We can, a little bit quiet.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and hold up my phone. I'm having to share my my stuff. I actually, for this presentation, I was told I was able to have screen share. Is that capability still able to happen through IT? Can I get the ability to screen share my presentation?
Absolutely. Andy?
You should have access now. Apologies for that.
No worries. 1 second. All right. So Lebanon Downtown Association, year in review. 1 second. Let me close out of this and hit our presentation. All right. So downtown, we've had a lot of outcomes from 2020. And of course, we have our goals reaching us to 2021. 2020 was definitely a different year for Downtown Association. COVID brought all of us challenges in the community, but I like to just kind of focus on our successes that we've had. We've had First Fridays that ended up in February and March when we were able to have those. We actually were able to see about 400 people come through downtown just in February and March for the Love of Chocolate First Friday that we held back in 2020 and for the Happy Birthday Dr. Seuss. And that alone already in those 2 months had already halved our numbers for 2020. And so for just to see that we would, with the trajectory that we could have had would have been exponential growth for us for First Fridays if, of course, COVID had not had happened. But what we were able to still kick off was Summer Bands and Brews. We were able to have that run from July through August. We sadly, because of funding and the lack of it, we were not able to kick off concerts in the park. But of course, we'll be reaching out to people to get that going for this year. And then also for underneath our promotions committee, things that have happened, we saw Dining Downtown committee come up. And then of course, we had our Dining Downtown boxes come out from 2020. And then we've had our Economic Vitality Committee. They were able to bring about what was called the Space Walk. The Space Walk had taken people through tours of the vacant spaces in downtown that was led by Bill Flesher, who's part of our Economic Vitality Committee. And as many of you know, Bill Flesher is with the Lower Gillette home team. So we are definitely leveraging the ability of the people who make things happen in our community to kind of make the public known of what we have going on in downtown and what spaces are available so we can get new entrepreneurs into our downtown corridor. And then our outreach committee, which is also known as our organizational committee, was really able to make some partnerships in the beginning or the end of the year with LBCC. Through those partnerships, we are working to help with students. For every 100 hours that the students are able to get for volunteerism, they're able to get part of their college tuition paid for. So right now, we had students come from this year, a little bit of a mark. We've had students come for our community cleanup day that was held February 4th from LBCC and Comp Northwest. And of course, our partnerships with the Chamber and the city just throughout 2020, and I'll get into more of it here in a second, just really strengthen those, what we were able to accomplish in our goals. And to kind of give you an idea, just what it kind of takes, we saw definitely a spike in our volunteerism through 2020. So we had a little bit of jump over 2019. And what we saw was just over 1,500 hours were donated by individuals in our community and bring back an investment into the community as a whole. Right now, the average valued rate for volunteer hours is about $27.20. So that's just over actually closer to a $43,000 investment of time back into our community. And through a lot of that was brought through different events. And most of that time was because of the COVID procedures. We were able to bring in summer bands and brews because we had people being social distancing monitors. So we were able to bring things, like I said, summer bands and brews. We were able to see time, being able to bring downtown Halloween on Main and Grant. That was, of course, different from our normal downtown trick or treat. This was just performances that we had by two performance artists that we had children come down. A little candy was given out from the Downtown Association that was donated by local businesses. So it was a really great time. And of course, we were able to have the Taste of Downtown, which brought about 26 people out to downtown, and those 26 people enjoyed a taste of all the different restaurants in our downtown corridor. This is something that had been a dream that had been taken from Albany. Albany had the Nosh tour back when I used to do in sales, and it was something that once Growler Cafe came in, it was something I knew we could end up having for our community. And of course, then we had, conversion, and then the sprout up of everybody. And now that we have such great anchors from J&C Barbecue all the way to Bigfoot Grill, we have the ability to have a great Taste of Downtown tour. And of course, in 2020, towards the end of it, and due to the freeze, we end up seeing our Dine Downtown Lebanon collaboration, our committee come together. This is, of course, was a group of all motivated restaurant owners coming together to be able to discuss the challenges they all face. And then because of that, they were able to bring about the Dine Downtown collaboration boxes. Some of you were able to enjoy over the new year. And of course, we currently have a Dine Downtown collaboration box going on now for the Love of Downtown, which is a Valentine's Day box. And today's actually the last day you can get that box. And then of course, towards the end, we were able to get those, and working along courtside city staff, we were able to get the restaurants as a whole approved to get their dining outdoors for them to be able to have that. And that's gone really well. And even just this year, Merlin's was able to approve for dining outdoors. So that adds another one to our list. And another great accomplishment we had, and this just comes from the communication, working together with our partners, is that communication. We were able to push out and work alongside the Oregon Main Street program that the Downtown Association is a part of and that we're affiliate of. We were able to work alongside, of course, the city and pushing out grant information alongside the Chamber of Commerce. And to be able to give information and empower our downtown businesses just to know that they weren't alone and that they had people to advocate and there to support them, truly brought in that solidarity during a really difficult time. And of course, our communication to the community as a whole We were able to bring the community understanding to know what restaurants were open, as we all saw the influx of what 2020 brought, of not knowing what was going to be happening in the next corner. So through our Facebook, our social media page, and of course our e-blast, we were able to communicate what was going on with the restaurants and other businesses. And of course, as I said, information sharing. So now that Lebanon Downtown Association, we're moving forward in a new year, 2021. Our committees are, of course, they're very dedicated, and the focus for Lebanon Downtown Association and the boots on the ground work really is done by our committees and the people bringing forward. So this year from our promotions chair, Yvette Meyer, looking over their objectives, their promotions committee is definitely working hard to change the focus on the attitudes on people about what downtown Lebanon is. As we all know, we've come through Lebanon as an economic downturn over the last few years, and we're just seeing prosperity come from that. And we want people to know that we're here and we're vibrant and we're continuously moving forward. The other aspect of that is to bring unifying imagery and target markets, clear messaging. So we do not want people to think of a pub crawl as meant for toddlers. We want to make sure that when we have events meant for kids, they know they're meant for them. And when they're meant for us adults to have a good time and a date night, we know those events are our time to shine. And of course, bringing back activities in our community. We're looking and desiring bring back concerts in the park is something that the community always appreciates, and to continue on the events. And if you want to know a full list of downtown events, please visit the Downtown Association's website, LebanonDowntownAssociation.com, so you can be caught up on what's going on. And of course, continue to communicate and progress in bringing different attractions like our First Fridays or other events to our downtown area. And our outreach committee that I had previously shared, that was our organization committee, is pretty much the HR for our organization. Of course, we're looking to promote what LDA is doing and how we're growing to create that solid, as it says here, communication plan so people know what's happening in LDA, how you can join, and what the different roles of our organizations are. The other part of that is to, of course, recruit new committee members and board members. We do live in a rural community. Many of you that are council members and those of us who serve in this community wear many hats. And we want to be able to find those of us who are interested in being a part of that and who are not tapped out necessarily, but who want to be involved in for the first time and be a part of a downtown committee. And of course, to bring on new members for within our downtown, that they can know how this organization works and how we work alongside the Oregon Main Street program, and of course alongside our other community partners. And of course, we have our Economic Vitality Committee that's working to showcase and to recruit our businesses to come in here to our downtown association and to bring in pamphlets to tell people how they can move effectively through our community to start a business. And our organization committee is looking to be able to beautify our downtown. Of course, with our community cleanup day, we just brought in February and throughout this year. And one thing that we're excited about for this next year is actually an interactive mural project. We are working currently with building owners and suppliers and artists, and this is actually being a partnership with LBCC and our Lowe's Distribution Center, where we will have taking, as you can see on the upper left-hand corner, the vacant building, and creating to a paint by numbers and mural project that we can have beautiful works of art that people can feel ownership and a place of belonging, and they know they took part in that. So that's a project for 2021 we're definitely looking forward towards. And of course, how can you guys be involved and support downtown? We're just asking that you guys continue to shop local. Every 67 cents of every dollar is brought back into our community, stays in our community, in the schools, and the roads, and the employees that are paid through our businesses. So when we shop local, we're sustaining our local economy, and that's what we need to do. And of course, we're always asking for volunteers, and we're asking for people to step up and work alongside us and to donate and to help us with those community events. And to speak more on that, this is Yvette Meyer, our board president.
Hello, this is Yvette. As Cassie had said at the beginning of her presentation, 2020 was a challenging time for us all. 2021 appears to be moving in a positive direction in regards to the COVID-19 and the lifting of restrictions. So LDA has been determined to assist our downtown businesses with as much support as possible with the assistance of our downtown manager, Cassie, who has done an awesome job this year, our board, and all of our committee members. We are now faced with the realization that to continue that support, we must build our funds back to the level of pre-COVID-19. We're asking for your support of the same amount that was invested by the city of Lebanon in 2019 of $25,000. We have, in the last 4 or 5 months, delved into what we call our savings account, which is past the funds that we had used from the city in the past. The progress I think that we've made in 2020 has been awesome. With even my business, the challenges of getting people through the door, but we've done some awesome work with the help of Cassie and our board and committees to keep downtown a place that people want to visit and come to. I just want to thank you in advance for your consideration of investing in the Lebanon Downtown Association and your community. All right, so I will go ahead and leave you and say thank you all. And I won't make you guys listen to that little bit there we have left there, but I just want to say thank you to the City Council for giving us opportunity to tell you what we've done. And if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to take those on.
Thank you, Yvette and Cassie. Do we have any questions?
All right, thank you guys very much.
All right, thank you. All right, next up is public comments. Did we receive any public comments?
No, we did not.
Thank you. And we will move on to our numbered items. And the first up is a public hearing. The public hearing for annexation A is -2008 is now open at 6:17 p.m. Your patience is appreciated as the city attorney goes through the required hearing procedures.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. I'm trying out my new headphones and they even have a little speaker in them. So the city council will follow the quasi judicial hearing procedures set forth in ORS 197.763 that have been modified pursuant to governor's orders for virtual meetings during the COVID crisis. The procedures have been included in the public notices provided to the public and are available on the city's website. At the commencement of the hearing, any city council shall announce any ex parte contact or conflict of interest. If you have any questions as to what those are, please let me know. I will start out with the staff report, which will be presented by staff. It will include information which staff believes is relevant to the identified criteria from the city's comprehensive plan or land use regulations, which staff believes to be relevant to the issues of the hearing. We'll then have questions of the staff by the council. We'll then open it up to public testimony. Audience may provide oral or written testimony concerning issues relevant to the hearing. All testimony or evidence must be directed towards the criteria described in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulation. Failure to raise an issue, including constitutional issues or other issues related to the proposed conditions of approval, if any, accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the council and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issues, precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals. So we'll have, after the public testimony, we will have testimony of witnesses, excuse me. The testimony of witnesses will go in the following order. We'll start with the proponents of the application. This is usually led by the applicant and then any other individuals that want to speak on behalf of the application. We'll then have opponents of the application and a rebuttal of by the applicant if requested or necessary. We'll then close the public hearing. Generally, a decision will be made this evening. And the decision can be either to approve the application or deny the application or approve with conditions. If there aren't any questions, Mr. Mayor, you may open the hearing and ask for any conflicts of interest or bias.
Thank you. Do any councilors wish to declare any ex parte contact, conflict, or bias in this case? Okay, seeing none. have any comments regarding objections to the notice that was sent in this case to the jurisdiction of this body to hear and consider this case been received?
No, sir.
Thank you. And will the Community Development Director please present the staff report?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Before you tonight is a proposed annexation of an industrial property located at 611 Hansard Avenue. That is a property that is on the east side of Hansard, just south of Reeves Parkway. The subject property is 4.96 acres. The full width of Hansard Avenue along the frontage of the property, as well as the frontage of the property to the south, is also proposed to be annexed into the city as part of this proposal. Property to the north, south, and east are within city limits, and so therefore the site is contiguous to city boundary limits and eligible for annexation. The property is in a developed neighborhood with a mix of industrial, agriculture, residential, and public uses. To the north and west are vacant parcels within city limits zoned industrial. To the south is a property improved with a parking lot, and it was recently approved for construction of a commercial building for the Oregon Department of Veteran Affairs use. And that would be for office use and warehousing. And then to the east is the Oregon Veterans Home within the mixed use zone. City sewer and water service along with storm drainage is available in Hansard Avenue along the property frontage, and upon annexation, the property would be able to connect to those city services. The staff report presented in the agenda packet provides a detailed analysis of the required review criteria and the recommended findings for the proposal, for how the proposal meets the requirements for annexation. And generally speaking, the criteria can be met as the property is contiguous and eligible for annexation. The applicant is accepting of the first zoning of industrial, and therefore the site and future use is consistent with the established zone and is able to be accommodated with the existing facilities according to the master plans. So with that, I'll conclude my report and be available to answer any questions. From my understanding, we do have the applicant available to speak, but we have not received any further public comment on this item.
Okay. Any questions? And you have not received any comments. Would the applicant like to speak?
Oh, okay. Can you anybody hear me?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow city councilors. My name is Chris Goodell. I'm with AKS Engineering. My address is 12965 Southwest Herman Road, Tualatin, Oregon 97062. We prepared the annexation application and submitted on behalf of the property owner and applicant. I'm just here to thank the city council and staff for the positive recommendation, actually the planning commission's positive recommendation for approval of the application. And we look forward to your approval of the application here this evening, and we're here to answer any questions that you have. So, and appreciate your time again this evening. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, the public hearing will be closed at 6:24. Any other council discussion? Will the city attorney please read the title of the ordinance?
Ordinance bill number 2021-04, ordinance number 2960, a bill for an ordinance annexing and zoning property following consent filed with the city council by landowners in said area pursuant to ORS 222.120 and ORS 222.170, file 820-08, Store It LLC.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 2960. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the ordinance passes. Thank you. And next up, we have Community Development Block Grant application. Kelly Hart.
Introduction of this and then turn it over to Alicia Rogers. As part of our COVID relief efforts, Alicia has done an exorbitant job of trying to search for any available grants to help the residents or the business community in Lebanon. And this is one opportunity that came about with coordination with our senior center to provide assistance to our senior community. And so Alicia will provide the context of what the grant is, and then please excuse her long-windedness. She'll have to read verbatim the public notice. So I will turn it over to Alicia.
Okay, and first, before Alicia takes over, I apologize. I should have opened the public hearing at 6:26 p.m. And now we'll turn it over to Alicia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, so through Business Oregon, the city has an opportunity to apply for a community development block grant to assist our low-income senior population by providing Wi-Fi enabled smart devices to allow seniors serviced through the senior center to access telemedicine, senior center programming, and to reduce impacts of isolation experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic. This program, if approved for funding, would be available for all of Linn County residents, with the exception of the city of Albany due to their status as an entitlement city through CDBG. Through the grant, the Senior Center will purchase 42 devices to begin the program. The devices will be loaned out to the seniors for use at home. This program is estimated to support 38 seniors over the next 6 months. If the initial program is successful, the Senior Center will apply for additional funding for further devices, with the goal of reaching up to 100 seniors over the next 12 months. As per the requirements of CDBG application, I will now read the public notice in its entirety. Public notice and notice of public hearing community development block grant application. The city of Lebanon is eligible to apply for a 2021 community development block grant public service grants from Business Oregon. Community development block grant funds come from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The grants can be used for public facilities and housing improvements, primarily for persons with low and moderate incomes. Approximately $12 million will be awarded to Oregon non-metropolitan cities and counties in 2020. Maximum grant that a city or county can receive is $50,000 for a public service grant. The city of Lebanon is preparing an application for a 2021 community development block grant, public service grant for Business Oregon, from Business Oregon for the Connected Seniors Program. The Lebanon Senior Center will be the implementation partner for this project. They will purchase internet-enabled devices, train seniors on basic digital literacy, and loan out the devices for at-home use. The goal of the projects are to decrease the isolation of seniors during COVID-19 and increase their ability to access telehealth, educational, and social programs. It is estimated that the proposed project will benefit at least 38 seniors, whom 100% will be low or moderate income. A public hearing will be held by the City of Lebanon City Council at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. The purpose of this hearing is for the City of Lebanon City Council to obtain citizen views and to respond to questions and comments about community development and housing needs, especially the needs of low and moderate income persons, as well as other needs in the community that might be assisted with a community development block grant project and the proposed project. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the governor's social distancing executive order 20-12, this will be an electronic meeting. The public can listen to the meeting on YouTube. Written comments must have been received by the Community Development Director by Tuesday, February 9th, 2021 at 5 p.m. at 925 South Main Street, Lebanon, Oregon, 97355, or sent electronically to khart@ci.lebanon.or.us. More information about Oregon Community Development Block Grants, the proposed project, and the records about the city's past use of community development block grant funds is available for public review at Lebanon City Hall during regular office hours. Advance notice is requested. If special accommodations are needed, please notify Kim Schaefer at 541-258-4264 so that appropriate assistance can be provided. Permanent involuntary displacement of persons or business is not anticipated as a result from the proposed project. If displacement becomes necessary, alternative will be examined to minimize the displacement and provide required reasonable benefits to those displaced. Any low and moderate income housing that is demolished or converted to another use will be replaced. So the recommended actions tonight, in conclusion there, is 1, conduct a public hearing, and 2, approve resolution number 2021-03, authorizing staff to submit an application for the 2021-03 CDBG application. And 3, approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Lebanon and Lynn County for residents within the county to be eligible for the program. With that, I'll conclude my report and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Very nice, Alicia. Thank you. Any questions?
Alicia, it looks like you didn't read the second half of that. La ciudad de Lebanon es elegible. I'm sorry, we missed that part.
Yeah, I missed the Spanish part. If we could get.
Yeah, maybe if I'll get Google Translate to read that part out loud.
Any questions? Serious ones? All right.
No, I will.
Have any?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna, it's probably not time for my input. Never mind.
Not yet. Have any comments on the public hearing been received?
I did not receive any. Kelly, did you?
No.
Okay. And the public is here, or the public hearing is hereby closed at 6:31 p.m. Council discussion? Now, Rebecca.
Good job on this. I was just like, it made me so happy to read through this grant and think about us getting that and helping our seniors this way. So I was just, what little heart I have was happy. So thank you.
That and the talk of Pete getting the high-speed internet out into Lynn County too, into the rural areas. Both of those are going to be really big pluses for us. Very nice. Will the city attorney please read the title of the resolution?
You bet. Resolution number 2021-03, a resolution authorizing submittal of an application for the 2021 Community Development Block Grant and authorizing the city manager to sign all the appropriate documents associated with it.
Okay, entertain a motion. And I believe that motion. So the resolution and the IGA.
Yes.
So moved for the resolution and the IGA.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution and the IGA. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Resolution 2021-03 has been passed. Thank you. All right, next up. Approval of use of city sidewalk for outdoor dining, Growler Cafe, Kelly Hart.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to take this one.
That's right. Sorry.
Kelly, that's all right. Kelly did all the work to put the stuff together, but I'm actually the one that's been working with Chris Borgman from the Growler Cafe. He approached us last month, and during the time when we were looking at all the other restaurants in terms of their outdoor dining, and requested to put up a fence, a nice decorative wrought iron fence along the front of his business along Grant Street there, where they currently have dining tables, and in order to kind of delineate it a little bit better. They're currently using this space now. It's taped off. So staff met with him and we looked at the area and kind of looked it over for ADA issues. You know, you've got a 12-foot sidewalk there. No problem with that. He's only requesting to use a little over 6 feet of it. It's more of a permanent, although the lease agreement shows that we'll review it on a yearly basis, but it's not necessarily due to COVID. I guess it could be due to COVID, but this would be something to be up on a more permanent basis. You'd have a fence around it. There's a drawing of it in the back of the lease agreement, which shows that area. But we met as staff and discussed it and feel it's a good location. Feel it may help his business and actually draw more people to outdoor dining downtown, and giving him that option. So with that, we're recommending that City Council approve the attached lease agreement, and I can answer any questions. And I believe Chris is on the line too with us, and if you've got any questions for him.
Okay, questions?
I think this is a great addition to downtown. And I just wish that more of our sidewalks were set up at that width so that we had this option for more businesses downtown. But kudos to Chris for taking care of, or taking the reins and getting this done, because it's like Ron said, I think it'll draw more people, it'll allow him to serve more people, and it'll really give that great vibe to downtown, especially in the summer and fall months when that weather's great. So it's a great move.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Jason. I'm very pleased that, well, since the inception of Chris's business there, it's a great facility, and I'm very glad to see all the improvements that he's done to his restaurant, and this is just gonna make it even better. So I appreciate Chris doing all that work and coming to the city, and that we can all come to an agreement.
I also very appreciative of Chris and his willing to come and ask, and that we can work it out so that he can proceed with that project.
At the risk, oh, sorry, at the risk of Chris's head getting way too big, I too am super excited about this, especially that it's not temporary, because I think Lebanon lacks downtown dining normally. Now it's just, we feel it more acutely, but I'm very excited about it. And so thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you for all the kind words. I really think it'll make our space really look nice. To have a tent there right now, it really didn't make sense with our awning. So this will give me something to sort of attach to the ground, so that if I happen to put something there, it won't flap in the wind and destroy things. So this was really my solution, and I didn't want to attach anything to the ground. So I appreciate you guys' time. And hopefully we can move forward with it.
All right. Any other questions? Discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move for approval.
Was there a second? Okay. Been moved and seconded to approve the use of the city sidewalk for outdoor dining for Growler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the motion has been approved. All right, next up, creation of an illegal camping ad hoc advisory committee. You have the resolution in front of you, or should have, and the members on the committee will be myself, Councilor Wayne Rieskamp, Councilor Wayne Dykstra, Police Captain Kim Hyde, Citizen Denise Downer, and CSC employee and citizen Dina Elkridge, and she's worked with the homeless specifically with CSC. So I think this is a good group of people that will be able to look at this and work through our issues that we have. And I just noticed that there was even an article today on Facebook that was discussing this about, I think it was Eugene, but one city that was struggling with this, and that they were going to have to deal with it also. So I guess we could do discussion first at this point, and then we can read the title after the discussion. Is there any discussion? I think we pretty much talked about it last meeting. Okay, with that, we can have the city attorney read the resolution, please.
Resolution number 2021-02. Sorry, is that echoing as bad as it is in mine?
Not too bad.
Sorry about that. Resolution number 2021-02, a resolution of the City of Lebanon creating an illegal camping ad hoc advisory committee.
Entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ad hoc advisory committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution 2021-02 has been approved. Acceptance of the City of Lebanon financial audit, Matt Apkin.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Last month we had the auditor come and present our audit reports, so I will try my best to keep this short and sweet, as I know it can be sometimes a little bit boring. So you received a memorandum of kind of the highlights of our audit. There's a couple things that I wanted to point out. One is in the first bullet point, or the first numbered item, and that's that we received an unmodified audit opinion, which is the highest opinion that we can receive. That doesn't mean we're in great financial health. All that really means is the auditor looked at what our records show, and they indeed show what we actually have going on. The second point in there is the management discussion and analysis. This is kind of where we try and take everything that's in the financial statements and pull it down into a little bit of a bite size amount, so you can see in general, how are we doing? It compares current year and prior year. Let's see, there are some things in the notes to the financial statements that I would say are kind of important to look at, and that's both capital assets and your long-term obligations. That's where a majority of those things are held, just based on accounting principle. And so you can get into details on that if you want. And then the fifth thing on there is the general fund statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. This is kind of where we look at and see, okay, what is what we budgeted for the general fund, and then what actually happened in the general fund. That's kind of one of the most important areas, as that's kind of where we decide where we're spending money. I'm happy to go through any of these things individually a little bit more if you prefer. Otherwise, I am happy to answer any questions that you have.
Matt, I really like this year receiving the stuff ahead of time and then having it at one meeting and then coming back to this next meeting. It gave me a whole lot more time to look at it and digest it, and I appreciate that. And I know that's not always easy because you're always in a crush for this.
Well, we're happy to do it this way going forward. I think this is actually one of the things I learned from Nancy. She did something similar to this in Corvallis, and decided that was a good idea to do here as well.
Yeah, it's working good. Questions? Comments? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and approved. It's been moved and seconded to approve the City of Lebanon financial audit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. All right, we will temporarily adjourn as the Lebanon City Council and convene as the Lebanon Urban Renewal Agency. And Matt Apkin will be talking to us.
Hello again, Mayor and City Council members. I'm not going to go into further detail. I think the highlights that I shared on the last one are pretty much the same on this. They're on different pages. I would like to point out that this year we were able to work with the Secretary of State and combine all of our urban renewal districts that we had previously reported separately. They were technically all set up as within the Lebanon Urban Renewal Agency. And so that's why you'll see this year the financial report is for the Lebanon Urban Renewal Agency. And then each of our districts have separate budget to actual statements in them, and then they kind of all roll up to be one overall agency at the end. They don't have any capital assets in them because they don't hold any capital assets. They give all those to the City of Lebanon. But we do have a substantial amount of debt within these, and those are going to be repaid with tax increment funding. So that is why we have so much debt there. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have on this as well.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Lebanon Urban Renewal Agency financial audit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion has been approved. Thank you, Matt. And we will adjourn as the Lebanon Urban Renewal Agency, and we will reconvene as the Lebanon City Council. And next up, we have Matt, approval of financial audit services RFP.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council members. We're at the conclusion of our contract that we had with our current auditor. We do have the option of extending that contract out, but we have also noticed and gone back and seen that when we last did our RFP, we only had one qualified auditor that actually bid to do our audit. City staff feels it's going to be most important to go out again for bid to ensure that we get a good representation of auditors and also those with skills that are maybe better fit for our size entity. Our current, the auditor that we recently had, we were their largest client, and I think city staff would like to see some other possible auditors that have some larger clients as well. With that, if you guys are willing to have us do an RFP to get a new auditor, we would also request that 2 city council members be part of the committee to review the RFPs. As technically the auditor does work for council, they're the ones kind of going through making sure that you guys can rely on the work that we're doing as city staff. So if you feel we can go forward, we would really like some participation from 2 of you as well.
Okay. Questions, discussion? Volunteers.
Well, I'll volunteer and then whoever's replacing me can be on it.
Oh.
I was going to volunteer since I adamantly bag out on the camping thing. I'd much rather help out with an RFP.
All right, very good. So it'll be Karen and Rebecca if it gets approved. Okay, any other questions? Entertain a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve an RFP for financial audit services. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Next up, economic development presentation, Kelly Hart.
Thank you, Mayor. This is again going to be an Alicia Rogers heavy presentation. We thought it was prudent to have her come before you tonight to mostly because 2020 was a fun year. And so we wanted to sort of at least provide an overview of kind of what happened in 2020 in terms of economic development and our efforts, what got put on the shelf. And then also we'd appreciate some, at the very least, initial feedback and some of our initiatives that we're going forward with in 2021. And so since I have the microphone, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Alicia for all of the work that she has done this year. It has been a lot. And she has been an exorbitant help for me and within my department. And so with that, I will turn it over to Alicia.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. And I will share my screen because I have a PowerPoint presentation. Well, and now I'll start from the beginning. And I did time this today, so I promise it'll be less than 10 minutes. So everybody knows me. I'm the Economic Development Catalyst for the City of Lebanon. My name is Alicia Rogers, and I'm just going to update you guys on how 2020 went and then some initiatives that we have for 2021. As you know, most of 2020 was spent in response to COVID-19. This started out as our first response was creating a resource database through our website, but this was a place where businesses could go to see resources from a state level, from a county level, and even on our local level. There we had grants posted on there and kept that updated as things changed for that. And then with the contacting businesses, this is primarily the Downtown Association and the Chamber. They reached out to their membership and just seen what those businesses needed and kept in contact with them, which resulted in a business survey that we ended up sending out through the Chamber, through the Downtown Association, through the social media of the city. Probably reached a good 500 businesses or so, and we only got 40 responses. So that was a little bit disheartening. But from those responses, we had quite a bit of results. There was funds that went out for many different things, including The city of Sweet Home actually applied for a Business Oregon grant to provide childcare for the Boys and Girls Club of the Greater San Diego, which is Sweet Home and Lebanon. So we partnered with them to make sure that there was still funding for childcare. Central Willamette is a local bank, but they're also a CDFI. They got $50,000 through Business Oregon that we helped to get out to businesses because, of course, there's a lot of parameters around some of these grants. So they reached out to the city to see if we could help direct some businesses to them that would qualify. Lynn County had a very similar story. They had the funds that they wanted to get out, and I worked hand in hand with Rebecca at the chamber to be able to give input on the parameters for that grant, to be able to look over the list of businesses that were on it and make sure that we weren't missing some of our vital small businesses that were affected by one of the most recent shutdowns, but then also helping to split that list and call those businesses or email them or even stop by and make sure that they knew that they were eligible and they could apply. Through CARES Act, at the city, we were able to do the curbside to go banners for all the downtown businesses that you see in the pictures here. And then in addition to that, still do the outdoor dining as well, and help to provide grants for the small businesses so that they could not only just rely on their curbside to go, but do the outdoor dining options as well. The senior center grant, you heard about that one earlier. And then Community Lending Works, also a local CDFI that works through the city of Sweet Home on behalf of all of Lynn County besides Albany, because they're an entitlement city as well, or still, to be able to give out funds for small businesses. There's 150,000 that went out from them. And once that's expired or expensed, then we have the opportunity to apply for a $500,000 regional grant through them. So that will be coming up. Of course, many other grants were attempted as well, but we don't win them all. Other results that came from this was PPE. So through Business Oregon, and they had some federal funds through the Department of Administrative Services to be able to purchase PPE, and they reached out to the municipalities to see what their needs were. We were able to order and obtain 4.5 pallets of PPE for care packages for small businesses. Any business with 50 or less employees were eligible. And then again, we partnered with the chamber and the downtown association to disperse this because they have the contacts with the businesses. And we have dispersed most of it, but there is more to come. They did have additional funding that came through. So we'll be able to order in mid-March for another round of that to help out those businesses that need that. Of course, none of this could have been done without coordination from the basic of our community and our business connections that we have here, but also, like I mentioned before, with the chamber, with the downtown association, but then beyond that, regionally, with the other 7 cities that are part of the MVP group that are in Lynn and Benton counties, coordinating with them and our other economic development partners throughout the valley, including Corvallis and Albany as well. And then, of course, from the state, Business Oregon has had so many different grant opportunities to be able to help out the small businesses. And so working with them, I talk to them at least on a weekly basis, and then Regional Solutions as well. But of course, there were some other projects that did not that kind of had to get sidetracked and put on a back burner this year, including RAIN. We had other communities that stepped up. When Lebanon was not able to fund our portion of the RAIN MOU last year, Halsey, Brownsville, and Harrisburg actually all stepped up and contributed more funding than what they had originally agreed to in order to try and cover that gap and make sure there was no lapse of presence of RAIN in Lebanon. So a huge thank you to them. RAIN was also successful in getting an EDA grant, which covered the rest of that gap. So there was no gap in coverage of Lebanon, even though we weren't able to fund them in our budget last year. And there are changes coming to the amount that we would be funding for future years, but that's a future conversation too. The other programs that were on hold, of course, was the downtown building restoration program. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic hitting in the spring last year, we did have to cancel 2 of those grants from the previous year, and then we were not able to do the program for this fiscal year, even though towards the end of the 2020 So I know if this program came back, it would be highly utilized still. The MVP program, those are the 8 cities in Lynn and Benton counties. They're all run by their city leaders. So they're obviously responding to COVID as well right now. So that's been on hold, but we're hoping to get back to that and work on regional collaboration. And then the business visitation program changed a little bit. Kelly and I were visiting businesses once a week, and that of course had to change with the COVID restrictions. And instead of asking some of the questions we were before, the focus shifted. We ended up starting to asking questions about how their business is going to survive, and it looked a little bit different. So for looking forward to the rest of this year, of course, COVID hasn't went away, so we're still looking at responses for that. We're looking at grant opportunities still, and maybe not just for the businesses, but as we were talking about earlier with the senior center as well. But that's something that, of course, needs to be a focus and still in the forefront of our minds. For the economic recovery plan, we would like to have continued coordinations with the local businesses, the chamber and the downtown, but also it's key to work with our regional partners as well. And there are different grants available through the USDA to be able to do technical assistance and write recovery plans. So it's not just something that we would like to look into for Lebanon, but potentially look at for a region and see what that strategy could look like when it comes to recovering from this, from COVID-19. And I realized that I skipped the business registration program, so I'll hop back up to that one. We definitely felt a lack of this program during the pandemic, and it pointed out some of the difficulties that we had in contacting businesses. Without a registration program and having that vital piece of contact information for those businesses, we heavily had to rely on the members of the chamber and of the Downtown Association, but that left out quite a few businesses that we weren't able to either contact to let them know about the grant programs that were out there or the resources that we could be providing to them through PPE. There's only so many people that if they don't see our social media posts or aren't a member of the chamber of the Downtown Association, that we really can't get a read on how they are doing, how their health of their business is during this pandemic. And we're not isolated in that. There are quite a few municipalities within our region that have been looking into that as well. So if that's a direction that we're wanting to go in the future, I definitely like to talk with other community members nearby that have been looking into this program and also looking with the COG to see if there is a chance to work regionally to focus on this and see if there's a way to be able to bridge that gap. And then, of course, back to the recruitment focus as well. We like to be able to focus on some of our commercial and industrial pieces and update our state inventory, work with the consortium, continue working with the consortium for the wetlands. There's definitely a regional economic development district approach that's been a focus of the SEDS update, to make sure that we are advertising our region as a whole and how we can help economic development, not just individually, but regionally. And then the MVP group as well is something that we would like to be able to get back to and focus on, because that is the rural communities of Lynn and Benton County, and being able to work together to bring in business to our region. And then, of course, if you don't know already, I'm having a baby in April. So that is something to think about for 2021. I'll be gone from about mid-April to mid-July on maternity leave. And as talented as Kelly is, being able to juggle 1,000 things, putting additional things on her plate, she's going to do a great job of covering for me while I'm gone, but she does have her own things going on as well. So that is something to take into consideration. So we would like any feedback or questions that you have about those initiatives for 2021, besides the baby. I can't really do much about him. And if there's a particular direction you would like to go and pursue, I'm happy to discuss that now. Thank you.
Hey, Alicia, this is Paul.
Yes.
I'm curious about the business registration program, because I remember back 15 years ago or so when I was on the planning commission that I'd asked the planning director at that time about that, and they had tried it at different times, apparently the city had, and it was just a really large administrative nightmare to keep current and actually have good information and to convince people that they want to register their business. So I just kind of curious on how that would go over, do you think, with the businesses? I mean, I would do my business, but not everybody wants to register their business necessarily. And that's one of the things that's nice about Oregon is you come in and you set up your business and you don't have to have a license in our county.
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to have to do a lot of research on and kind of see how the other communities are approaching it, because there are some communities that have a really great business registration program. People sign up year over year. It depends on, there's lots of things to weigh in on it, on if we want it to be, if they want there to be a cost, if we want it to be a free program. Before, we didn't have somebody in my role who could necessarily maintain this program. So having an economic development person that's dedicated to it, yeah, it's going to have a lot of initial legwork, but hopefully if the program gets up and going year over year, it should be a really simple thing to be able to just turn in that paper. But a lot of it has to do with research first and kind of see what approach we want to take, and we would bring that back and present on it, of course.
That sounds good.
And if I can jump in as well, this is the intention of this conversation is just is this even something that you want us to look at? During the pandemic, the biggest resource that we had was communication. And when we don't have a comprehensive list of those that we need to communicate with, it's kind of like trying to fight a battle with one arm tied behind your back. And so very quickly at the start of the pandemic, you had most cities, at least along the I-5 corridor that we are in communication with, starting to say, how do we have this conversation with our business community to make sure we can help them survive when we don't even know what our business community looks like in its entirety? And so this is a universal conversation. We do actually within our municipal code have a business registration program already implemented and in our code. I think it was that program was supposed to be suspended for just 1 year to evaluate whether or not there's a different method or a different path that's less cumbersome for staff time and administrative focus. And after that 1 year, it sort of just never came back, and it turned into if businesses want to register, they can register. In speaking with the fire district representative, which Jason may want to jump in now or at a future date, having knowledge of the businesses within each different facility and address is incredibly helpful on the response side of it. And then also just having information about the businesses themselves, when they start, and then having an annual renewal about, are you still in business? If you are, did you grow? Do you still have the same number of employees, more or less? What type of business are you? Helps on the economic development side of the equation of forecasting. Are there downward trends in our city that we need to start addressing? Are there missing pots of opportunity within our business community? And so there's different opportunities within it, but right now there's no path forward other than, do we want to do a business registration program or not? From there, we'll come back to council in a future date that says, what are the options that would what it would look like, what is the administrative costs associated to it, and are there regional efforts that can be tagged on to for the city so that we don't have to take that project on. And so we identified through the pandemic that there's a lack of information and a lack of knowledge, and the business registration program could fill that knowledge, and then the rest of it is still to be known. It's just at this point, I think we kind of want to look for, does council even want us to spend our time on it or not?
Well, I know from the fire standpoint, we've talked about this, but this is the opportunity for fire to have an idea of what is going on in the structures and the occupancies in our district. That's helpful for us for pre-planning. It's helpful for us for honestly for specialty equipment purchasing. And it's helpful for us in our inspection programs because it gives us an idea of what's happening without just walking into something blind. When a business has to register, and if they're changing the occupancy use of the building, that oftentimes forces some fire and life safety code upgrades and changes. And so without knowledge of that, what ends up happening is we discover these needs for change after the fact. And that puts an even bigger burden on the occupant because now they have to go back and potentially retrofit fire and life safety things like sprinkler systems, which are extremely difficult to do in a retrofit. And then that leads to increased expenses and a bad taste in their mouth for fire and life safety, something that should be a positive for them. And we should be working with them to help them be successful, not coming in after the fact and saying, this is wrong, now you have to fix it. So it that goes against our creed at Lebanon Fire, where we want to really educate and assist in success. We want to teach people, show them how to do it, not come in and be punitive after the fact. But then we're bound by law once we see something to say something and to do something about it. So it puts us in a difficult position. Having a registration program that the city maintains and that we are privy to would just be so helpful for us together, I think, as two agencies working together for the success of the community, the safety of the community. It would be a great thing. So I would be all for this.
I'd actually agree with Jason as well on this one. And I also wonder if we reenacted it, because it sounds like from Kelly that it was kind of already there. It was just supposed to take a very short hiatus. But there is also a thing called the Business Watch. Then I'm not sure if the police department here participates, but maybe when the businesses register, if they are interested in signing up for the Business Watch, it is such a huge advantage when the police department learns about some sort of fraud that's going on, or there's people doing checks, that they could put a blast out to all these businesses and let them know, hey, we've got this problem, heads up, if these persons come entering in, this is what they've been doing. It was a real plus in Corvallis for sure. But I do like the idea of the registering piece, just for all the things that you just said, Jason. I would feel horrible that they would have to go retro. That would be unfortunate.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I think some of there was quite a bit of reluctance on behalf of businesses. If I remember when we did stop, like it was a lot of work for the city to keep up. What's the hammer if I don't renew? There's a lot of like working parts to it that make that can make the program very clunky. But there's clearly a lot of use, but there's a perception, the optics of it from a business person is often, as Paul kind of referred to, as the city putting up red tape, like the city's going to make a bunch of money, you don't need my $25. And there was some of that, but if I would be in support of at least exploring kind of the pros and cons, and of you guys finding somebody who's really dialed in with this kind of program. And then and now that we have Alicia, and I want to follow that with saying how incredibly helpful she has been this past year as far as the Chamber of Commerce, and the outreach to businesses has been so much work. And she has been right there every step of the way, a really solid partner with businesses. So we've really appreciated that. So thank you.
Well, I just think that with this whole pandemic that we've had this year, again, and not to be a punitive to the business or want, $25 or whatever the concern was. This year was such a great example of, wow, the importance of being able to communicate from the city perspective to the businesses, and how can we help you? And if we don't know you even exist, to me, this is just such a great example of why the importance of doing something like this, so that we could be more of a partner.
We ended up buying a list, and Alicia kind of alluded to this earlier. We ended up buying a list from the state of businesses in Lynn County to do some outreach to them through our different partnerships. And what she was talking about, there was a lot of businesses in Lebanon that maybe for one reason or another, the state hadn't yet known that they were in business, or they just were not registered at all with the business, with the state. So a lot of eyeballs on those lists to enhance them. Still, things could have gotten through the cracks, but then I suppose that would happen with a registry too. You're going to have businesses that do not register regardless of what you do. So but you're right, the value is there.
I think one of the other valuable pieces, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think the chief is still on here. Chief Stevenson, are you still on?
I am. Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I wanted to see, and I may be completely off base, but I remember back when I was a cop that we'd be out on a midnight alarm call, and we would be needing who to call and who to contact and how many people might be working in there at night or whatever it is on a late night call. It seems like that would also be helpful for the police department, not just the fire department. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that's, it's helpful and useful information for us to know. And we do have some programs that are out there. It's a voluntary program. We have something going with businesses who have video cameras and things like that. So the ones that do participate, it is successful, but like Rebecca has mentioned, it can be clunky. So I think it's, as long as it's ran smoothly, I think it'd be a very, very good thing to have. So.
Okay.
So not to cut off any of the conversation if we want to continue with it, but what I am hearing is at the very least, we have enough consensus to move forward with continuing the research and then coming back to you at a later date with some options.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, so we don't need a motion on that. And next up will be city manager's report, Nancy Brewer.
Hi, good evening. Let me do this. First off, as noted in the written report, we are looking at starting lockoffs for water service later this month. Matt gave you some good detail in the finance section about the number of accounts that are past due and the aging on those. We will, of course, offer time payment agreements for people to get caught up, but we have some concern about the size of the outstanding receivables, the lack of people who participated in our grant program for utility payment assistance, and certainly a lot of anecdotal discussion among a lot of other communities that when they look at their list of past due customers, it is often parallel to what you had, say, 5 years ago in terms of the same customers who don't pay until you threaten and come to lock off the service. So we feel like we need to get that started unless the council would like us to take a different direction. And then my second piece, just a big shout out to Kendra Oliver and the people at the Senior Center. They have made themselves available to our older population to help get signed up for COVID vaccines through the Lynn County Fairgrounds site. It is a website appointment setup at this point. You can't call. Once you get an appointment, they want to send an email to confirm that, and that lets you schedule your follow-up a month later for that Moderna shot. What we're finding is a lot of our older population who either don't have computers, they don't have email. So the Senior Center is setting that up with the email coming to the Senior Center, scheduling a second appointment, and then giving the paperwork to the customer. We got about 30 people signed up for appointments that were held today. We have fielded dozens of calls, and they will put names and phone numbers on lists. And as soon as vaccination dates open up, they'll start scheduling people in again. Lots of calls. We took a handful of people today on link shuttles over to the fairgrounds. So anybody who's having transportation challenges getting there, we're happy to help. Got a call late this afternoon from Kendra Antilla, and she was having quite a few people showing up at the library trying to use the public computers to get set up for appointments. Frustrated at the slowness of the systems. Lynn County is really only opening up the number of appointments in a week that they know they're going to have vaccines that they've been promised. And I don't think they get that until like Friday, they get a number for the following week. So they are not wanting to over promise on what would be available. So the library and senior center are working together now to help get people signed up. If you know anybody who needs help, give a shout out to Kendra and her staff at the senior center. They're doing everything they can to help people out here. It is a hard system. It is a persistence requirement to just keep hitting over and over and over again until you actually get scheduled. There are technical challenges, clearly more people than they have vaccines, but they are getting people vaccinated. So wanted to share that, and a shout out to the staff who really have stepped up there and are working hard. So with that, I'd answer any other questions.
Nancy, I recall from last month's meeting that there was the exploration of possibly holding a vaccination clinic at the senior center. Has there been any more conversation on that?
There has not. I have had some back and forth with Todd Noble, who's the Lynn County Health Director. They really are set up at the fairgrounds. And I have been over there to see what that setup looks like. They have so many people there. Our parking lot, which I thought was more than adequate, would be way overwhelmed. And so I think they are in a place that is working for them for the number of people. You drive in off of Knox Butte, there are people who check that you have an appointment there before you get the rest of the way in. So they have a lot of controls in place. So I think at least for the time being, that's not an option. We have, though, gotten clearance from the state that we can open the senior center for programs as long as they're not senior programs, which is odd, but we are getting some asks for things like Master Gardeners Group to be able to do a session, and they're needing a large room. So we will be able to start doing a little bit of programming in that building. Hoping that as we continue, hopefully to drop risk levels, we will be able to get more fully functional there.
Thank you.
Sure enough.
Any other questions, Rebecca?
My question is on your report, but it's actually for Frank. You mentioned in your part of the report, less lethal, what is it? Less lethal tool called RAP. Would you explain that to me?
So it's a gentle rap song that I sing to him. I'm just kidding. It's the best way I can explain it is it's a much like a very tight blanket that goes around them. It controls their arm and it puts them in a upright seated position, so they can't thrash around. And it also, so if they do fall on their side, they're still in a good position in case they happen to choke or whatnot. It's a very useful tool, and I'll be more than happy to show anybody that wants to see it. I've been putting it in myself, and it's much safer than anything that's currently out there right now, and to help control people who want to become violent and need to be restrained at the same time. So,
okay, thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Okay, next up, items from council. I have two things real quick. We are moving on Friday to the high risk level. So that will start Friday. I just encourage everybody to continue doing what we're doing. I want to keep everybody safe because we don't want to go back to the extreme risk again. So hopefully we're on the right track. The numbers are looking really good right now, so a lot better. Also, we have the open position that is available, and that will be We've been asking for applications, I think for 2 weeks, I believe it's been at least. And that closes Friday, the 12th at 5 p.m. So if anyone is interested in that ward 2, is it? 3, 2. I was right, 2. Shouldn't second guess myself. So Ward 2 position, and it is available, and we're accepting applications. So that'll close Friday at 5. And any other counselor comments? Okay. Go back down to my agenda here. Do we have the press here? I haven't heard anybody. Is there any
No.
press?
No press has joined.
No? Okay. So no press, no other public comments. Next scheduled meeting is March 10th electronically, and we will see you then. And Brent, can you hang on for a minute so I can talk to you at the end? Just got a technical thing to talk to you about. Okay, at that point, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.